afternoon to everybody out there in Atom Smasher country. I am Miss Smith, and I teach social studies at Saul C. Johnson High School. Today, we will have our YouTube live interview with Mr. Muhammad. Before we get to that, let me please introduce our student commentators. First, we have Michaela Nicole Taylor. She volunteers at the JEA, the Jewish Educational Alliance, and she wants to go into early childhood education and become certified in American Sign Language. Michaela, would you like to say a couple of words to our audience?
Good afternoon.
Next, we have George Hiawatha McDowell III. He is a senior at Johnson, as Michaela is, and he plays football for our smashing football team. He would like to major in business administration, and one of the colleges he is interested in going to is Carthage College. George, what would you like to say to the crowd?
How you doing?
We will now allow our student commentators to take over with their interview with Mr. Muhammad, principal of Saul C. Johnson High School.
Okay, so our first,
Well, I wanted to go ahead and just say a few words before we jump right into it. I'm very excited to be able to speak to us today and try and get us to see where are we with moving back to online learning. As you know, our Board of Education made some decisions very recently that affects everybody. They affect parents, they affect students, they affect teachers. So with all of these mixes that are going on, I want to have an opportunity to meet you, talk to you, and let you know where we stand with Johnson High School. I will begin by saying I got a couple of slides I would like to share with everybody. As I go through these slides, I think they will explain to us where we are as a school and how it's going to affect each one of us here at Johnson High School. On the screen, you should see this document called Community Transmission Index. This Community Transmission Index is what we use by our Board of Education to make the decision of whether or not we were going to fully virtual back into in-school learning. So with this Community Transmission Index, you see several colors. You see a green, a yellow, an orange, and a red. Of course, green is the optimal place of where we want to be, but currently, honestly, right now where we are, we're probably somewhere between the red and the orange. But there was a push a few weeks ago from parents and organizers from our city that wanted to see their students go back to school face-to-face. So a decision was made to go back into using a hybrid model. And so you'll see those four phases of 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're right now at phase 2. And so we'll be moving back into school in a hybrid model for those parents and students that choose to go back into the building. For us, it means the ninth graders will go first. Our ninth graders will have a chance to make the decision whether or not they want to go back to the building for face-to-face instruction. And after a few weeks, and we'll look at trying to move our upperclassmen if the numbers show. So if our numbers go down, our transmission rates go down, the board will meet and then make a decision of whether or not we go to phase 3, which are for the upperclassmen, 10th and 12th grade. And then first one day, we hope to be back in green, where everybody can come at least 4 days a week, still having Wednesdays in there, our cleaning day, just to ensure that we're not passing the transmission back and forth and respreading virus amongst ourselves. So that was a very good graphic that came out from our Board of Education. So pay attention to it, either back at the board meeting or from this presentation. So this next slide, if you could, it kind of goes into what we will look like as a school. So let's say our ninth graders choose to come back to school on a face-to-face model. We would do a hybrid model, as I stated before, which means that students will come to school for 2 days. Let's say if you're in cohort A, we back up. So students will be divided into a cohort A and a cohort B based on where they live, so address. Those surveys will be going out to our parents. They aren't out now. They'll be going out very soon. And so those parents can then decide whether or not they want to go back to virtual, and you'll be divided in cohort A or cohort B. So if you're in cohort A, you will come to Johnson on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then you will be virtual on Thursdays and Fridays. Still Wednesday, still being the building being a clean day, but also time for you to do the makeup work, focus, make up different things of the day of this. So while cohort A is in the building, cohort B are at home learning virtually on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then they will report to the building on Thursdays. Okay, and then everybody still has the option of remaining virtual as we are right now, which many parents I'm sure will do. And so they will then remain and they'll continue on that same process that is taking place right now. Next slide. So a couple things that I need everybody to understand. There is some construction that is taking place on Sunset right now. Hopefully be finished in a few weeks. Because of the construction taking place, we will enter and exit through the bus ramp. So students, and remember now, transportation will not be provided for our students that decide to come back to school. You have to get to school on your own. In a walking distance, go outside of walking distance. You know, you still have to get a parent or somebody or drive to get to school because this will not be picking you up to bring you face to face. So you will enter on the bus ramp, will exit out of the car, and then both those double sets of doors that we have right there, enter into each one of those double sets of double doors, at which point you will do a screening. We'll have several people right at the door to screen everybody that enters the building. That screening means that we're going to take your temperature, then we're going to ask you a couple of questions. Those same questions that you see posted on the internet, that you hear in different places, if you go to the doctor's office, anywhere, we're going to ask you, have you, in the last 14 days, had COVID-14? Or have you shown any symptoms of COVID-14? Have you been around anyone that has shown symptoms of COVID-19? So if you answer yes to any of those questions, and or if your temperature is high, not able to enter at that time, but we will place you into a type room that we've already set up. And then we'll have to call your parent. Your parent has to come pick you up. Because if you have the temperature or if you have any symptoms of COVID, you not be able to enter the building. Okay. Now, once you get into the building, things will look a little bit different. If you have want to get your breakfast, you'll go to the lunch line, get your breakfast, and you go directly to class. We'll be hanging out in the common. So we go directly to our class, and we'll be in class during that time. Now, I notice you see the slide there. There's a lot of points that I need to go over here because I need everybody to understand what it will look like when you get to school. It's going to look a little different than what we did with back in March. The classes are being broken up, are being divided up into where all of the desks are 6 feet apart. So those students that decide to come will be sitting 6 feet apart from each other in the classroom, which of course limits the size of the number of students in the classroom. There won't be a lot of movement taking place. I know when you're in face-to-face, we have times where we're doing group work, where we're going up and back and forth to see the teacher. But the teachers in the classroom also have to maintain social distancing as well. So the students and the teachers won't be able to get close together to be able to assist each other as we normally do when we're in school. Students will be requested to bring their computers to school, back and forth, fully charged. Also bring your charger because much of the instruction will still be using the learning platform for instruction. It is going forth between the teacher and the student. So yes, the teacher may be using the board for doing some demonstrations or writing and explaining and maybe in the front of the room. But when it comes to doing assignments or providing assignments, everything is still going to be done online because you don't want to be exchanging papers back and forth with each other, exchanging pens back and forth with each other. So we're still going to use the computer and those platforms that we've gotten used to over the last few months to use delivering those lessons. Everybody still has to wear a mask while you're in the building. When you pick up, as I stated, when you pick up lunches will look very similar. Just come in the building when you go to class. Of course, when it gets close to the lunchtime, students will go get their lunch. Excuse me, I take that back. Lunch will be brought to you in our classroom for lunch. We're not going to the cafeteria for lunch at this time. Maybe we'll get to the area of green on that community index that we stated a little earlier. And while we are right now, we'll still be maintaining social distancing. It's very difficult to social distance in the cafeteria, so we'll be having our lunches in our class. One of the last things to discuss is that at the end of the day, we'll still be finishing around the same time, so the bell schedule will look the exact same as it is now. It has to start at 8, 1:45, and so at 1:45, students will then go back out to the bus ramp for parents to pick them up. We'll probably get dismissed by wing so that we can get out there and still maintain some type of social distancing as the parents come to pick them up and go back out following the exact same place dropping off. For our students that drive, of course, you still drive in the parking lot, but you will then walk around to the bus ramp, enter and exit the building. You won't be entering and exit except for any place except the bus ramp. Teachers and anybody has to do any deliveries will enter through the front door. Also on the screen, you can understand that I think I've reiterated it already or explained it to the screen when you come into the building. We'll be washing our hands often. One of the biggest things I need you to understand as well, if you go to the next slide, is that everybody was given options in our school and board so that people have options. So that first statement is the one I need you to pay very close attention to. It states parents and teachers they choose to remain virtual or report to the school for in-person instruction. So our parents and students will be making the decision to come back to school for in-person instruction. But the caveat and piece I need you to understand is that the teachers also are making a decision right now of whether or not they want to come back to the building, teach face-to-face or be virtual. And that is where the scheduling falls in place. Because of that, let's say if I'm just putting a number out now. So let's say if I got 6 classroom teachers in our building, if only 15 decide to come back and work inside the building, the reality is every single person that may want to come into the building for face-to-face instruction won't be able to. So those 9th graders that make that decision, they come into the building. If I got 15 teachers, let's just say best case scenario, I got 2 English, 2 math, 2 science, and 2 social studies. And they may not be 9th grade teachers. So if they come into the building for face-to-face instruction, then we're going to have to do some schedule changes. So there is a very good chance that students that have a certain teacher right now may not have that exact same teacher after the first quarter. The schedules may be changed so that you have a different teacher. And that doesn't just affect the students that are coming back face-to-face. It affects students that are going to remain virtual as well. Because if that virtual teacher is currently teaching virtually to, let's say, 12th grade, if they come back and teach in the building, at the time, they may end up teaching 9th grade. So that former 9th grade teacher may now become that 12th grade teacher. So this is going to affect all of us in some form, way, or fashion. But I made sure that this slide was up here because I need everybody to understand that Um, with the board action that took place, with providing options to the parents and students and teachers, everybody is being able to make this decision. Every single teacher that we have will not be coming back to the building to teach face to face. And I need you to understand also that this is a health reason. It's not that they don't want to see you. They all want to see you. We also need to realize that we are still in a pandemic. We're dealing with transmissions taking place. We want to place ourselves or you in harm's way. So when you do make that decision, know that there is a chance you have a different teacher when you decide to come back into the building. So I just want to be very transparent with that. Understand? All right, so that's all that I have for right now. So I would definitely like to hear some questions that you have.
All right, we will now have Michaela and George come forth with questions that they have already received from some students, parents, and other stakeholders.
Okay, so our first topic, Mr. Muhammad, is about the schedules. Will the time schedule be the same as in the day and also the block schedules? So the normal 7:30 to 2, and the 90-minute periods, the 4 periods of the day. That was the first question.
It will be the same. We're going to try and run the exact same mirror of bell schedules that we have inside of our virtual. Because just in case we have to have some students taking classes face-to-face and virtual at the same time. There is a possibility, let's say you, Michaela, you're in, come back, say you're in ninth grade, and you come back in so you may have English face-to-face, but because I may not have as many social studies that are in the building, they still end up taking social studies virtually. Very similar to where you're working now under a learning pod situation. So you may have face-to-face there, and second period, it may be virtual with the teacher that you currently have right now.
The second question would be, so we do have the option to stay online here at home, or whether we want to go to school or not. So that was the second question.
Yes, you're right. So everybody still has ability to make options and choices. So you can, George, your parent decide that you want to come back to the building, you can, and we welcome you. But if you want to remain virtual because the virtual is working for you and you're excelling through this, and you still may be a little concerned about the transmission rates, then yes, you can still stay on remote learning and everything will still flow. Now, you may have a different teacher. But you can still remain virtual, and all our teachers, content teachers, can teach just about every subject they have.
Okay, so another question. You did say earlier that release 1:45. So how many hours will we be in school as a total? Is it still going to be 2:30 or 1:45?
So we'll still be in school from 8 o'clock to 1:45. Top ed math, 5 hours, 5 minutes. So that's about how long we'll still be in school. It'll be the exact same year. First period to be 8 to 9, 9:15 to 10:15. Third period is 10:30 to 11:30, and I believe fourth period is 12:45 to 1:45. So it'll still be the same. Yes.
So are we going back Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday? Because I know Wednesdays is the days they are cleaning school. So are we going back all 4 days, or just two out the week?
So what we'll do is that we'll still be in a hybrid model when we first get back. So we'll come to school Monday. If you don't A, you'll come to school on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will be remote. So Wednesday will be the time that you're waking up work. You can get additional help. You can do tutorials. And then new content started on Thursday and Friday. Then the opposite happens for Cohort B. Cohort B will be at home remotely Monday and Tuesday. And then Thursday and Friday, they'll be in the building. Good question.
Okay, so what is the transition? So are students able to start virtual and then after the 26th come back, or are they able to be in school and if they feel uncomfortable, then go virtual?
So what is going to happen is this. Surveys are going out through Power School. So everybody, all parents and students should have, I believe they're going to the parents, but all of us should have our email addresses in Power School. A lot of the communication is taking place through email at this point. So once you get this email where you're going to decide, George says, his parent says, I want to come back to school, then what will happen is that you will then be assigned to classes inside of the building for the second semester between now and January. And so you'll be set from now until January for taking those classes inside of the building. And then if it's the opposite happens, and the parent decides they want to take their classes virtually, then they will be set for the next 9 weeks. They won't be able to go back and forth. Okay, you won't be able to jump back and forth. It'll just be, you got to pick one or the other, and we'll be there between now and January. Then in January, we're probably going to do this again to see if anybody's changed their mind back to virtual or come.
So what type of school supplies will we need for the 2 days of school?
Okay, school supplies. The biggest school supplies that you're going to need are your computers. You still got to be able to bring your Chromebooks to school or laptops if you have your own personal or iPad. You can have that. Still bring a backpack, of course. Maybe bring some pencils, pens, notebooks for yourself. So if you like taking notes that way, you know, hand doing it as well, you can do that. But as far as turning something in, providing some paper, it's going to be handed back and forth between the teachers. That's not going to happen. It's going to be, everything is going to be done virtually. All assignments that are provided will still be done through electronic, and all things that are turned in will be done as well. The whole idea is to not use paper.
Our next question was, will students be allowed to use their own personal iPads? And if not, would they be able to use a school-given one?
Yes. iPads and laptops, personal iPads, laptops, if they're brought to school, those should work on our network. Our network is made so to be able to accompany and work with those devices. So yes, you can bring those and use those as well. But you know, if you don't have one, we need to know very quickly so that we can issue those.
The next question we got is basically how is class going to go? You already said that that's going to be like 6 feet apart, but how is class going to go work like when we're doing assignments and stuff like that? Like, is everything going to be on the computer, or will they still be giving handouts? How tests are going to go, stuff like that?
That's a good question, George, because the real deal about it, you know, and I'm glad we're able to have this conversation, is that it's not going to look like it did back before we got out for spring break. And if we, and I know that's what we want. We want to get back to the way things work, but we're not there yet as a school and really as a society. We go to Walmart, they still have little things on the floor trying to tell you to stay 6 feet apart. When we go to the grocery stores, at least I know Publix had it in the past, And Kroger did it for a while, where they had you going up one aisle and coming down the next aisle. And we won't be passing each other back and forth. So even though it looks like right now things have calmed down as far as the transmissions in our city, they haven't. They haven't really calmed down at all. But we're going to push forward through this. Since we are going to be opening school and allowing some students to come in, we're going to have to do things differently. Yes, the teachers are going to be coming over to you and rubbing you on your back and telling you to wake up. You know, they might yell across the room, wake up, sit up, get your head up, they're not going to come over and give you a high five as we would do in the hallways. We see you on the weekend after these got finished running the touchdown. I won't do that. So it's going to look a little different, so the assignments will be done back and forth virtually, but yet we're in class doing it. Okay, so we're doing the work in class, but we're still doing the work virtually. The teacher's just right there to be able to explain to you face to face instead of like this.
So the next question was about what is the uniform policy now?
Everybody got to wear a uniform. No, I'm just playing. We were uniform back in, I believe it was in April, May. Our board did change the uniform policy so that they made it so that the students can then decide if they want to wear their uniform or just be in dress code. But they relaxed it so that to make sure that there's no financial hardship on anybody in trying to go out and buy uniforms and all this kind of stuff, considering the reality of the United States took an economic downturn. The reality is some people were laid off. All of that is still taking place and it hadn't gone away. It's getting better, but it hadn't quite gone away and everybody hadn't popped back up, before spring break. And because of that, we will, you don't have to go out and buy a school uniform. You still have to be in dress code, meaning that you still gotta look okay. Much as I like seeing George right now, George can't wear a tank top, and then we see all the muscles and stuff. So you can't have, little short skirts going on. You gotta still be respectful while we're walking the halls. Still gotta be in dress code, but we don't have to wear a uniform.
So before I get to the next one, can we wear like Crocs and slides and stuff?
Slides and Crocs, no, because that is still part of the dress code. Dress code does say about having the shoes don't have backs on them, so we still have to not do that. And this is a safety reason for real, because if you were running, some of y'all might be able to run in slides and stuff, but most people cannot, and so you fall. Somebody stepped on the back of them, you might fall down. So that's the real reason why we don't do those.
Also, how will we be like switching classes, like transition from class to class?
Can you speak up on that one, please?
How will we be like transitioning from class to class? So like switching subjects and stuff like that. Like will new teachers come in our room, or do we go to other rooms, or?
We'll be going back and forth. It matters, honestly, George. It matters how many teachers have decided to come back or not. It matters if I have enough English, math, science, social studies, tech teachers or not. Let's take that same scenario that I said a little while ago. Let's drop the number down. I told you, I said, if we have 15 teachers with 2 of each subject, we can probably make it work. But let's say if I only got 8. Let's say if I only got 8 teachers in the building who want to take the option to come back and do face-to-face instruction. The reality is that I may not have enough of the core content teachers to do that. So in a situation like that, I have to make some hard decisions on how am I going to still provide you education on a face-to-face way because that's the decision that you made. But in a case like that, I may have to do that, a type of environment where I put you and 15 other students in this class. And so Ms. Smith may be in there monitoring you while you're taking math, maybe in there monitoring you while you're taking English, maybe in there monitoring while you're taking science, and then we switch classes to go do English. So if I got enough English, all going to be based on the number of students that decide they want to come back, and the number of teachers that have decided they're ready to come back face to face. So I really don't have an answer yet until I see the numbers.
So the next question is, are masks mandatory? And if so, what precautions are you guys taking to ensure that everyone will wear their mask?
Yes, masks are mandatory. So you must have on your mask when you enter the building. You will be allowed into the building without a mask. If you refuse to wear a mask, you're not going to be going back and forth. It's not going to be like a uniform where we ask you to go get a shirt. We're not doing that. So if you don't have your mask, you're not coming in. If you refuse to wear the mask, you hate to be like this, but we're going to call your mom and tell her to come pick you up. We're going to provide one to you. I got a few that I can provide to you to see if you don't wear it. But if it's continuously, I'm pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down, then eventually I get to a point where I'm going to say, I might need you to come pick up Michaela because Michaela won't keep her mask on. Going back.
What about like extracurricular activities such as clubs? Like, what are we gonna do about those?
So we will slowly reintroduce our clubs and extracurricular activities back into the mix, and so I'm very excited about that. For those teachers that are in the building who want to continuously have some clubs, they'll have those. We'll probably be doing some clubs and extracurricular activities, we'll probably start doing some clubs online first, if we don't have the money inside the building, but those are in the building, we're going to have those. So I'm looking forward to that, get back a little bit more because I know we all want it.
Then my for you today is, what is your protocol for if someone were to get sick in the building?
All right, that's a big one. That's gonna take a second. All right, so I need you to think about it. So with the current protocols provided to us by the CDC, and then what is also provided to us by our Board of Education, let's take Miss Smith. So Miss Smith's class, if George and Michaela are in Miss Smith's class, there are another 14 or 15 students in that class. If I'm not saying Michaela, I'm just giving an example. So Michaela comes into the building and we find out that she does have coronavirus, okay, and showing symptoms, and we get a positive test showing that Michaela has coronavirus. So we're in the same classroom. So all of the students and that teacher of that classroom will then have to be self-isolated at home for 2 weeks. Okay? So now that's just not first period class. That's also where Michaela goes to second period class. Also where she goes third period class and fourth period class. So those 4 classes where Michaela goes and is in for those hour-long class, those 4 classes and those students involved will then be self-isolated for 2 weeks. And then, while those students are self-isolating at home, they will then have to revert back to some type of virtual lesson while they're home for those 2 weeks, all right? And so that point, you'll be monitoring your symptoms and things like that. After those 14 days, if there aren't any symptoms, you can report back to the building. Okay? But after that time, after that 2-week time span is over, then you can report come back into the building, school, and go back to business. So there, we don't want that to happen, of course, because then that limits the in-face instruction that we want so bad. But there is that possibility, and I'm glad that was a very good question that you asked, because it is reality. So it's happening across. If you watch sports, it's happening. Sports happening just about everywhere. Where if somebody does have coronavirus, and then not that anybody else catches it, but you still have to self-isolate for that period of time to see if anybody else shows symptoms before they can then return back.
This is kind of big one for the seniors, at least. Is there going to be a prom?
Ooh, that's probably the hardest question to ask right now. We are planning. We are still planning to go there if we can. We're starting the planning process like that. We're in the process where we're trying to try and find a location. If a time comes and we are at a point where we could, then we wouldn't be set where we couldn't find a venue. So it's all still going to depend on where we are on that end date I showed you earlier. Now, if we're in the green, oh, yeah, you'll probably have a problem. But if we're not in the green, we probably won't be able to do that. But we're going to have everything set and planning as if we are, just in case we don't want to be caught. March comes around and then all of a sudden we can't have problems, and we can't do it because we can do our due diligence and reserve an area.
All right, Mr. Muhammad, we do have a few questions from our Instagram live feed. So the first one is, can students who choose to stay exclusively virtual come into the building for in-person tutoring if needed?
Okay, at present, I know it's probably not going to be the best answer, but the answer is probably no at this point. The whole idea of us being a cohort A and a cohort B, so that we're going to be limiting classrooms, is to be able to, on the back end, do any type of contact tracing necessary. So if you have someone who's not in face-to-face learning, then come into the building to get that tutoring, at that point, then I'm not saying they're contaminating the place, but we already know where everybody else is in the building. We know the movement. We know how people are moving around, so we can do contact tracing a little bit better. So right now, tutoring will still have to take place virtually if you are virtual. But if you are in a cohort A or cohort B, then you can do that inside the building.
All right, next question from our live feed. How will the students know what group or cohort they are in?
Okay, cohorts are going to be provided to us by our district. So like I said a little bit earlier, there's some surveys that are going to be going out to our parents and students, at which point you will make a decision of whether or not you're going to be face-to-face or virtual. And then once that information is provided, then we'll be able to say, okay, this group is for A, this group is for B, but it's going to be determined by adjuncts. So this is not Mr. Muhammad doing this. This is being done collectively for every single school in the district at the same time, because we're going to be having to make sure that it's an even number of students as well. So we want to, like I said, we got about 180 ninth graders. This is a smaller class. We got about 180 ninth graders. So if, let's say, if every single one of them came back face to face, we would probably divide up by 90 weeks. One cohort A, cohort B, based on address.
One of the burning questions for all of our students and teachers and parents as well is, will students still have to take their GMass exams?
Okay, so the answer to that is yes. At this point, we are still taking GMass exams, and help me out if I mess up, and U.S. history, biology, algebra, and American literature. So those are the four classes that we are still taking some type of GMass exam in. So I know George and Michaela might be very happy that they don't have to take an economics GMass exam this year. You know, so right now, only those four classes will take a GMass when we get to December. So at that point, as we get closer to testing, we will roll out our plan on how we're going to do that.
The next thing our live viewers want to know is, will the students have bus transportation to and from the school building?
Okay, so at this point, for phase 2 and for phase 3, bus transportation is not being provided to our students. We still have to get through the walking, driving, or somebody dropping you off. Well, let me say that for phase 2. Let me back off for phase 3, because a decision will later be made for phase 3. But for phase 2, initially, only those who are going to be dropped off, walking, or driving will then be coming in if in face to face. No bus transportation.
Our last question from our Instagram live feed is, what will happen with the IB schedule?
Hopefully, the IB schedule will pretty much stay intact. It's sort of like a small school within the school anyway. So more than likely, the IB schedule will pretty much stay the same. Now, the IB teachers, they teach something different outside of their classes, outside of their IB classes, but the IB schedule more than likely stay the same. It's a small group, and so it's almost able to work inside by itself. So it'll pretty much stay the same. And more than likely, it will probably still remain virtual. The IB schedule. So the IB students, 11th and 12th graders, more than likely still remain virtual.
Mr. Muhammad, that's the end of our Q&A session. Are there any other comments that you would like to add before we end our YouTube live broadcast?
Yes. What I would like to add and just say to everybody is that this is difficult for everybody. I know I've said that in a couple of other little broadcasts that I've sent out to you. Yeah, this is not easy for everybody. We all still must understand that we are still in the midst of a pandemic. The transmission is still taking place inside of our city. So we want to make sure that you're safe, and we want to make sure that the teachers are safe at the same time. So, which is why the board then made the decision that parents and students can make an option, but the teachers have to make an option as well, have the option as well, because they're people, they're human. They do the same. They go to the grocery store, they watch movies, they take care of their children, they take care of their grandparents, things like that. So they're making that decision now, where they are then trying to decide whether or not they're going to come into the building and virtual. As you are doing the same thing, want to get this information, you want to get some stuff cleared up so that you can make an informed decision. And both you, George, you and Michaela, know times that I do talk to you. As I talk to students in the building, I'm very transparent, tell you like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'll tell you exactly what's going on. And then that way you can make your own decision. So, I don't always have the eloquent speech, as some people can do, but I'm going to tell you the truth and where we are. Okay. And so you have to make a decision of whether or not you want to come back to the building or virtual. And then once you do that, you make that decision, and how we work it is what's going to happen. So if I have a large number of ninth graders in the class that want to come back face to face, but I don't have a lot of teachers, then we have to move to a learning pod model where, and Michaela knows what I'm talking about, where the teachers are working with the students in the classroom while they are taking their classes. First, I have a large number of teachers, and they're evenly distributed: English, math, science, social studies, tech, all of that stuff. And I have about the same, comparable amount of kids. Then it can run like two separate virtual school that works perfectly, and an in-person school that works virtually. And inside the building, it's going to be hybrid. 2 days on in the building, 2 days off where you're taking the classes home virtually. So can't run away from virtual. It's still going to happen. But 2 days will be in the building, taking your classes face to face. The other 2 days will still be virtual on Thursday, Friday if you're in Cohort 8. And once you come into the building to take classes, you'll know what I'm talking about for those of you who are upper class and have been in the building and understand, the hanging out in the common, in between class changes, the go and meet our friends and hug and talk and all that kind of stuff. They can't do that right now. We're going to have to go directly to our next class, prepare for the class, and then when we get in there, we're not going to be doing a lot of things. We'll be in the class. We'll still be taking our classes as far as instruction taking place, providing assignments back and forth will still be done on the computer because we're not going to be exchanging papers back and forth. Okay? So we've got a social distance. We'll be eating in our classrooms. So it's transparency is what I think is needed to be able to make an informed decision. So me, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Never have, never. Okay. Any other questions? Is that it? Thank you. And I miss all of you. I tell you, I miss you. I'm ready for this pandemic to be over so we can be back face to face. It's a lot more fun being at work because I go to the building every day, to an empty building of students, and you'd be surprised how much you miss seeing people walking back and forth in the hallways. Sometimes we turn on the bells just to have them ring so we can remember what it's like to have in there. But we do miss both and all the students at Johnson High School. I want to return back as soon as possible. But at the same time, we got to be safe and make the decision that is best for you. Kayla, George, and all of the students and families make the decision that is best for you and your family as you make this decision.
As we end our broadcast, I would like to once again thank Mr. Muhammad for taking time out of his busy day to be upfront and direct with us about your options concerning returning back to the school building. I would also like to thank seniors Michaela Taylor and George McDowell III for being our student commentators. And also, last but never ever least, let's please also thank Mr. Kaiser, our IB film instructor, for producing all of our YouTube videos for the school. I'm Ms. Smith, and I would like to end by saying, just like a train, we can't be stopped. We are making great gains and taking our skills to the top. As always, we hope that you made it a great day at SCJ, where it's all about the Solomons.